First ever digital scan of Titanic reveals never before seen views. For the first time, full-scale digital scan of the Titanic, the cruise ship, has been made public, and it could reveal new secrets about the ship that lies 12,500 feet in the Atlantic. And these are the scanned images of the Atlantic production Magellan, the front, the stern, the bow, and the propeller. BBC News said the scan was conducted about a year ago by Magellan Limited. It's a deep-sea mapping company, and Atlantic Productions, who are making a documentary about the Titanic. The vessel is split into two sections, the bow and the stern, separated by 2,600 feet and surrounded by large debris fields. Magellan and Atlantic Productions spent over 200 hours surveying the wreckage with submersibles, capturing over 700,000 images. This allowed them to create a never-before-seen high-definition 3D reconstruction of this vessel. Magellan's Gerhard Seifert, who heads the expedition, said the underwater scanning project was the largest and most complex he had ever undertaken. He said the depth of it, almost 4,000 meters, represents a challenge, and you have currents at the site as well, and we're not allowed to touch anything so as not to damage the wreck, he explains. He says, and the other challenge is that you have to map every square centimeter, even uninteresting parts, like on the debris fields you have to map mud, but you need this to fill in between all these interesting objects, he said. Park Stevenson, a Titanic analyst, was blown away by these new scans. He said, it allows you to see the wreck as you can never see it from a submersible. You can see the wreck in its entirety. You can see it in context and perspective. And what it's showing you now is the true state of the wreck. Stevenson said these new scans might reveal new secrets behind the maritime disaster, which took place 111 years ago. And this is on Zero Hedge. The RMS Titanic, the British passenger liner, operated by White Star Line, which sank in the North Atlantic Ocean April 15, 1912, after striking an iceberg during her maiden voyage from Southampton, England to New York City, United States. Of the estimated 2,224 passengers and crew aboard, more than 1,500 died, making it the deadliest sinking of the single ship up to that time. It remains the deadliest peacetime sinking of an ocean liner or cruise ship. The disaster drew public attention, provided foundational material for the disaster film genre, and has inspired many artistic works. RMS Titanic was the largest ship afloat at the time she entered service, and the second of three Olympic-class ocean liners operated by White Star Line. She was built by the Harland and Wolff Shipyard in Belfast. Thomas Andrews, the chief naval architect of the shipyard, died in that disaster. Titanic was under the command of Captain Edward Smith, who went down with his ship. The ocean liner carried some of the wealthiest people in the world, as well as hundreds of immigrants from Great Britain and Ireland, Scandinavia, and elsewhere throughout Europe, who were seeking a new life in the United States and Canada. The first-class accommodation was designed to be the pinnacle of comfort and luxury, with a gymnasium, a swimming pool, smoking rooms, high-class restaurants and cafes, a Turkish bath, and hundreds of opulent cabins. A high-powered radio telegraph transmitter was available for sending passenger micronograms and for the ship's operational use. Titanic had advanced safety features such as watertight compartments and remotely activated watertight doors, contributing to its reputation as unsinkable. Titanic was equipped with 16 lifeboat davits, each capable of lowering 3 lifeboats. For a total of 48 boats, she carried only 20 lifeboats, 4 of which were collapsible and proved hard to launch while she was sinking. Collapsible and nearly swamped was filled with foot of water until rescue. Collapsible B, collapsible A, collapsible B, completely overturned while launching. And together, the 20 lifeboats could hold 1,178 people, about half the number of passengers on board and a third of the number of passengers a ship could have carried at full capacity, consistent with the maritime safety regulations of that time. When the ship sank, many of the lifeboats that had been lowered were only filled up to an average of 60%. So the name Titanic, as we know, derives from the Titans of Greek mythology. Built in Belfast, Ireland, it was when the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. RMS Titanic was the second of 3 Olympic-class ocean liners. The first was RMS Olympic, and the third was HMS Britannic. Britannic was originally to be called Gigantic and was to be over 1,000 feet long. They were by far the largest vessels of the British shipping company White Star Line's fleet, which comprised 29 steamers and tenders in 1912. The 3 ships had their genesis in the discussion in mid-1907 between the White Star Line's chairman J. Bruce Ismay and the American financier J.P. Morgan, who controlled the White Star Line's parent corporation, the International Mercantile Marine Company, IMM. The White Star Line faced an increasing challenge from its main rivals, Cunard, which had recently launched Lusitania and Mauretania, the fastest passenger ships then in service, and the German lines Hamburg America and Norddeutsche Lloyd. Ismay preferred to compete on size rather than speed and proposed to commission a new class of liners that would be larger than anything that had gone before, as well as being the last word in comfort and luxury. The White Star Line sought an upgrade of its fleet primarily in order to respond to the introduction of the Cunard Giants, but also to considerably strengthen its position on the Southampton-Cherbourg, New York service that had been inaugurated in 1907. The new ships would have sufficient speed to maintain a weekly service with only 3 ships instead of the original 4. Thus, the Olympic and Titanic would replace RMS Teutonic of 1889, RMS Majestic of 1890, as well as RMS Adriatic of 1907. RMS Oceanic would remain on the route until the 3rd new ship could be delivered. Majestic would be brought back to her old spot on White Star Line's New York service after Titanic's loss. The ships were constructed by the Belfast shipbuilder Harland and Wolff, which had a long-established relationship with the White Star Line dating back to 1867. Now, Harland and Wolff put their leading designers to work designing the Olympic-class vessels. The design was overseen by Lord Peary, a director of both Harland and Wolff and the White Star Line, naval architect Thomas Andrews, the managing director of Harland and Wolff's design department, Edward Wilding, Andrews' deputy and responsible for calculating the ship's design, stability, and trim, and Alexander Carlisle, the shipyard's chief draftsman and general manager. Carlisle's responsibilities include the decorations, equipment, and all general arrangements, including the implementation of an efficient lifeboat davit design. These are some details from Wikipedia. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.